Good evening, everyone. This is the December 1st, 2025 meeting of the Town of Barnstable's Comprehensive Financial Advisory Committee. I'm the chairman, Christopher Lozon. I will make note in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F. Any member of the public is welcome to record this meeting if they wish, as long as they make themselves known. It is also being recorded by the town and will be available for the public. I don't see anyone from the public here, so we'll move right to a roll call. Jeremy?
Chris King,
Present.
Chris Lozon,
Here?
Remus Pastorius,
Here.
Jim Sproul,
Present.
Frank Ward,
Here.
Lillian Wu,
Here.
and I am here.
Perfect. The gang's all here. So welcome again to our new member, Remus. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you very much.
And again, I see no members of the public, so we'll skip over public comment and move on to the minutes from our last meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll give a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? I just have one. Oh,
That one little debt service on page 3, it says Deb service. Is that what you were about to say, Chris?
that is not what I was going to say, so go ahead.
On page 3, review of the town's capacity to finance. The second bullet, the third sub bullet, or the fourth sub bullet. It's minor. I think it means to be debt, just missing the T.
Okay, yep.
The other
Good.
question was about the subcommittees. Did we agree that all the subcommittees were going to meet on Tuesdays, or is that still open to discussion?
I believe the plan is for them to be Tuesdays, but the operating budget subcommittee won't be for a little while, so
Okay.
we
Well,
still can finalize that.
thank you.
The thing I was going to mention is Tom Keene is still listed as a member. He was no longer a member as of the last meeting, so he should be removed, both on the list on the side and as a absent member. So, other than that, great job as always by Teresa.
Agreed.
So, if there's no more discussion, we can move on to a vote to approve.
Chris King,
Approved.
Chris Lozon,
Yes.
Remus Pastorius,
Abstain?
Jim Sproul,
Yes.
Frank Ward,
Yes.
Lillian Wu.
Abstain.
I'm a yes.
All right. Moving right along. Our first topic is to approve the calendar year 26 meeting schedule. I assume you all got that from Mark.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any discussion, any issues anyone has? It follows the same format we do every year, so.
Looks good.
Okay. Do we need to vote to approve that, Mark, or?
Yes.
Okay. So I would take a motion to approve, I guess.
Yes,
So moved.
and seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Okay. Jeremy, if you can call the roll once again.
Chris King,
Yes.
Chris Lozon,
Yes.
Remus Pastorius,
Yes.
Jim Sproul,
Yes.
Frank Ward,
Yes.
Lillian Wu,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well.
Excellent. All right. Good to go for next year. And then update on the CIP submissions and task force document. If you want to get into that, Mark.
Sure, thank you, Chris. Just a heads up, on the calendar, you'll be getting a bunch of calendar invites from us, scheduling all those future meeting dates. I apologize in advance for the onslaught of emails that you'll be receiving for those invites. So those will be coming in the next week or so. On the CIP document that I circulated, this is the document that we're going to review tomorrow at the CIP task force meeting. We have a total of 206 submissions for the 5-year period of fiscal year 2027 to 2031, totaling $811 million. This includes the general fund, all of the enterprise funds, and the projects for the comprehensive wastewater management plan. Funding request just for fiscal year 2027, which is the document that I circulated, totals about $160 million and includes about 94 projects. That breakdown between funds is $90 million for the general fund, about $19 million for the enterprise funds, and the CWMP totals about $51 million. Those are the projects, the general fund projects and the CWMP projects are the ones the task force will focus on tomorrow at this meeting, because those are the ones that are all competing for the limited general fund resources. The majority of the enterprise funds take care of themselves through the rates that they charge, with the exception of the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. So that enterprise fund, if they have any projects, they will be part of that discussion tomorrow, since they are competing for general fund financing. The school building authority or the school department submissions for fiscal year 2027 total about $21 million. A lot of this is for the roof projects at Barnstable High School and Barnstable Intermediate School, for which we've been accepted into the accelerated repair program through the Mass School Building Authority. But it'll be several months before we know what their contribution towards these two projects will be if we make their funding list. But they have approved our next step in participating in that program. If we are successful in receiving some funding from that program, we estimate anywhere between 30 to 40% will be their share of those project costs. We have on the next town council agenda, actually, I think it's on the December 11th agenda. It will include a couple of requests to do feasibility study and schematic design for those two projects, $350,000 a piece, which is the next stage in that program's requirement. They require you to do a schematic design and feasibility study for those projects that are participating, potentially eligible for the accelerated repair program. So those will both be on the town council's December 11th agenda for a first read. CWMP requests for FY27 include the major project is the Long Pond Sewer Construction Project. It's about $43 million. This has been already included or worked into the CWMP funding model that we've reviewed at this committee's level a couple of months ago. And we indicated at that point in time that we have the existing resources to fund everything that's been approved to date, as well as that FY27 submission. And so we'll discuss that project tomorrow at the task force meeting as well. The focus tomorrow is going to be on those projects requesting funding for FY27 only, not the outer years. We only fund 1 year at a time, but we do list all projects that we project to need some kind of attention over the next 5 years. And the task force members will use or evaluate each one of those submissions that we review tomorrow against a set of 10 different criteria in order to create a priority ranking. Some of our older members here, members have been on a committee for a while, are familiar with that ranking tool that we use. And we'll share that with the committee again, so you can see what those criteria are. That tool is somewhat subjective, of course, depends upon the individual evaluator's opinion of the project and how it ranks with each one of those 10 criteria. But it does guide decision makers in determining which project should be brought forward for funding consideration. Um, our time constraints tomorrow will not allow us, I think, to get through all 94 project requests. We're going to get through as many as we can. This meeting offers task force members the opportunity to ask questions about each one of these project submissions, and so that they can have a better sense as to what the project entails and help assist them with their scoring against those 10 criteria. The workshop will consist of department heads. The task force to consist of department heads and other key staff members within the departments. For the past few years, we've invited CFAC members to sit in and observe the process, so you have a better understanding of how we develop funding recommendations for the immediate fiscal year for the town council's consideration. And I do believe, Jeremy, you've indicated that you would be there tomorrow, and I would extend an invitation to any other member. Not being a posted meeting for CFAC, anybody who wants to attend is welcome, but you'll be an observer and not an active participant to avoid any public meeting, open meeting violation of the Comprehensive Financial Advisory Committee, because it's now posted as a CFAC meeting. This is an internal work shop for town employees. And,
Mark, I believe I've sent you a request to attend as well.
Yes, Jim. Yep. So we are good to go with you two. Anybody else, just let me know. Lunch will be provided because it is an all-day event with a lot of projects to go through. We'll get through, again, as many as we can. And that document I provided you, we generated from a new software program that we've implemented this year called ClearGov. And it will help us in more efficiently draft the actual final capital improvement plan document. We're no longer using a combination of Excel and Word documents and fudging those bringing those together to create a final document, which is usually produced in Word and then converted to a PDF. This program allows us to do it all collaboratively online on a web-hosted system, ClearGov. They maintain the system. They're responsible for keeping it updated. We don't house it on any internal server. It's a cloud-based system, so it protects us. They have the responsibility over that program, and it's just a new tool that we're utilizing this year that we think brings more efficiency to the process, allows department heads to see everything online, make changes to program requests online and so forth. So, and that's what that document is. I think it was over 260 pages that I provided you. It gives you the project description, dollar amount, justification, and so forth. And that's what the task force will be using tomorrow in this meeting.
Is it, Mark, just what time is it starting?
It starts at 9 a.m. and it'll be up on the second floor of the JFK Museum at the Old Town Hall on Main Street, Hyannis. There's a large room up above there and we're set up to allow Zoom participants. If you would prefer to observe this meeting via Zoom, I can also provide you the Zoom link. Just let me know. And yeah, that's it. That's all I had to say about that this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
That software looks pretty impressive. I really like the way it rolled things up. Hopefully, there's a massive time savings for the departmental heads and their staff.
Yeah.
What are you hearing for feedback?
Yeah, well, the initial feedback was resistance, right? Because it was strange. We changed the process and we implemented a new software. You know, that learning a new software, changing a process, you meet a lot of resistance up front, but we eventually got everybody to see the advantage of going this direction. And so I think everybody's on board now. And we're not stopping here. We plan in the future to include or develop the operating budget using the same, using a different module, but from the same company, ClearGov. We won't get to that with the FY27 operating budget development, but probably FY28. We're also in the process of incorporating the personnel expense module, which will allow us to produce personnel budgets for multiple out years based on contracts that we have in place and using estimates for contract changes and so forth. We're also planning on implementing a transparency module that they offer, which will replace the open budget module that we have now that we've been using for a number of years. We're really trying to focus all of our budget development and transparency and projection capabilities are using this tool going forward, but it's going to take us a couple of years to implement all the different modules because it's a major undertaking. And it's a major training initiative as well. As I mentioned before, change is difficult sometimes, and you really have to provide a lot of internal training for end users as to how to operate and navigate through the new program. But it's pretty intuitive, and I think once people got into it, they noticed that.
Right. Is it a software as a service? You pay an annual fee?
Yes, correct.
Did they provide you training for that as well?
They did. They provided the finance staff training in their onboarding process, but then it's they don't train every single person in town that's going to touch the program. We have to do that component of it. But they're a Massachusetts-based company, which is nice. Homegrown right here in Mass. They've been very successful in rolling out their product. They're nationwide now. There's governments across the country using this product, and I think they've been at the Mass Municipal Association for the past several years with a booth. And they've I've gotten a feedback from attendees at that a meeting about their product, and they thought it looked nice and sounded nice, and so we took a look into it, and we liked what they had to offer, and so we started with implementing the CIP module this year.
Mark, can I ask a question about CWMP?
Yes.
So that's a huge chunk of the budget for 27 is the CWMP, and I understand. First off, I'm a proponent of it. I'm just asking questions to kind of feel out financially how it fits from a trying to understand where it fits. But it's a big part of the 27 budget. And I understand it's already built into the model, and which is great. But how much of the 27 budget is fixed? In other words, can't change, or can it change in with the town having some thoughts about taking some of that funding and pushing it elsewhere?
Yeah, so it certainly can change, Chris. We've been asked by the council president to come forward with a fiscal policy recommendation in January 2026 that will address the continued implementation of the comprehensive wastewater management plan. We also plan to present some options that will allow us to not only continue with the CWMP implementation, but perhaps redirect some of the general funds that were currently committed to that program back to the operating side of the budget to reduce our dependency on reserves to balance the operating budget. And the third piece of the plan would potentially then allow us to take some of our general fund reserves and add them to the capital trust fund, offering an opportunity to expand some of the general fund capital that we currently have a limited amount of funding to deal with. As I presented in a previous meeting recently, we're estimating about for the general fund capital program, we're estimating that we can afford about $15 million of new bond issues a year for the next 5 years,
Right.
or $75 million. And, that's not nearly what the asks are, but that's all we can fund based on the current amount of resources that we allocate to the capital side of our budget.
Right.
But if we take some of our general fund reserves, which were certified at the highest level we ever had, and perhaps direct those to the capital trust fund, we can buy ourselves a few more projects, perhaps. We haven't finished that analysis yet.
Okay.
But so, yeah, so there's certainly opportunity to change things here, and I think that fiscal policy discussion we'll have in January will present some ideas for the council's consideration, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Okay. Yeah, I seem to recall that we received some state acceptance of the CWMP plan. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know if
yeah. Our plan has been approved by Department of Environmental Protection,
right.
and that just means they, we're from a regulatory standpoint, they've approved what we're doing to meet our total maximum daily loads over the next 30 years, and so we have that approval from DEP. So we are kind of under a regulatory order, no official, it's not a consent order or anything like that. But we are being held, by regulators to make sure that we continue the implementation of this plan. And if we were to, stop them implementing it, of course, that has consequences from the regulators, as well as potential consequences in the form of lawsuits, which we're already facing. And so it's in the best interest of the town to continue finding a way to implement this, and not, just freeze it due to the lack of funding.
Yeah, I mean, the purpose of my questions, Mark, are more of where are the fence lines for the program, the CWMP program, and other programs, because we don't want to starve off. We don't want to um, um, we don't want to be a proponent for starving off other major programs within a city
Yeah.
because of the CWMP. And from a standpoint of giving advice to the town, I just wanted to see where are the fence lines on each of these programs, and is there wiggle room or flexibility in CWMP so that money can be directed elsewhere? That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that'll be more clear, Chris, when we do have that workshop with the council. My recommendation is most likely going to include, as the next step after we have the workshop with the council, depending upon their feedback, is to come back to this group and present that recommendation that we give them for your review, and
Yeah.
have you, as similar to what we did with the CWMP financing model, have you report back to the council on that recommendation that we make.
Yeah.
So,
Good. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Mark, as a follow-up to what Chris has just asked, the document that you sent about the task force tomorrow, the 262 pages, is CWMP buried in that under DPW's 100 pages, or is there a separate document for CWMP?
No, there's some CWMP projects in that document.
But are they identifiable? I mean,
yeah, if you go to the table of contents, I think you'll see them.
So, like, for instance, under the Public Works, the Armory building is not CWMP.
No,
Barnstable Roads, Pierce's Way sewer expansion, I guess that's one in CWMP.
That's more of a water pollution control facility or sewer enterprise fund project. That's not part of the CWMP.
Right. So of the 100 that they have there, is there some way to determine, like, Long Pond area sewer expansion? I assume is CWMP.
That is CWMP. Yep. Yep.
Might
you have
there
to
be
go
a
to-
way to identify the CWMP projects for those of us that might like to look at them?
Sure. I'll give you the titles of each. I'll tell you what pages each one of those are on.
Sure, that would be great. It doesn't have, not now, but whenever you get to it, please.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
So, Mark, I have a question. You said that we're focusing on funding for 2027 only. How do you account for projects that are multi-year in implementation? So let's say it's a 24-month construction period, $20 million is incurred in 2027 and 20 is incurred in 2028. How does that 20 million in 2028 kind of go into your evaluation process and the ranking of the projects? And how do you establish that you're not kind of overreaching into the following years and therefore kind of impacting other projects that might have merit in those other years, but have been squeezed out by virtue of the fact that you've looked at only 2027 and not 2028 in this process?
Yeah, so we do look at projects that do request multiple years of funding, because we can't begin a construction on a project and then just stop the construction. And so if there is a project that asks for continual construction, most of the time what the departments will do is they'll all of the construction costs will be brought forward in a request in 1 year, so that we don't end up getting ourselves in a situation where we funded the first year's construction costs and then had to stop because we ran out of money or something else more important came up and we had to redirect the existing resources to that. So when you see a project like channel dredging, for example, is a good example. There's a request every single year for channel dredging. We'll fund one channel dredging project at a time, and that's it. We won't, they just won't be able to go forward with the next channel dredge project if we don't have the funding the following year to provide them, the funds needed to do the next channel project. So the channel dredging numbers that you see are specifically for certain channels, and not like half the funding needed to do one channel. It's the whole funding amount needed to do certain channels in town. So that's how we avoid getting ourselves in that situation.
Okay. Do you have a sense of the projects that are going to be? So and then I guess you set aside the funding for the whole project? Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And again, we're capped right now for general fund. We're looking at about $15 million on average a year. Of course, that could be a few $1 million more, a few $1 million less. But due to the limiting funding that we have right now for the general fund projects, we're really focused on assets that have the potential for immediate failure, because we don't want them to fail, and assets that have a immediate public health or safety issue associated with them, and projects that potentially have a grant available to help finance, and we need to provide a local match. So even though we rank the projects against these 10 different criteria to establish, their importance to the community, we're still, because of the limited financial resources, we narrow that focus down at the very end, as to immediate public health and safety, potential imminent failure of an asset, and grant opportunities.
So I understand, you're taking basically those $90 million that are going to be funded out of the general funds, and you're basically trying to whittle it down to 15.
That's right. Yeah. Or 20, if we find that we have projects that total 20 million that have either a public health and safety issue or a failure in asset, and we have to address those. We may have to, go as high as 20 million, which will just leave fewer funds available in the out years to address other projects.
Right. Got it. Makes sense to me.
Okay.
I understand.
Yeah, and it comes back to what I'm thinking is you say limited funds to 15, 20, or 12 to 18, somewhere in that range of limited funds. But are those funds limited, or do we call it limited mainly because we have responsibilities in other areas, like with the CWMP?
Yeah, I mean, the best practices, talk about allocating anywhere from, I think it's 7 to 12% of your general fund budget to your capital side of your program. So,
Right.
we're around 10%. We're trying to grow that. We've been trying to grow it. We've been adding, 2.5% a year consistently, along with an additional $750,000 on top of that for what'll be the fifth year in FY 2027. Getting us up to close to $20 million of our property taxes being dedicated just to the capital side of the budget. That has a big impact, a big negative impact on the operating side of the budget. And so, it's a balancing act, right? We're trying to balance capital needs along with operating needs when we don't have the resources to address everything that everybody's asking for from an operational standpoint or a capital standpoint. We have to balance as best we can, allocating resources between the two programs without overly impacting one or the other in a negative way. But the funding that we have available isn't enough to address either the operating or the capital side of the budget. And on top of that, 6 years ago, we began, with a new CWMP program that's going to cost us hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion. And so that really created strain on both the capital budget and the operating side of the budget, because with the addition of that major sub-program within the Sewer Enterprise Fund, expansion of the public sewer system, we have to allocate more resources to the capital program as best we can without overly impacting the operations in a negative way. But it's balancing act.
It is. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
All right, great. Anyone have any other questions or comments? I see Councilor Lutke joined us. I don't know if you have any comments, Betty.
Nope, I got nothing right now. I'm really looking forward to the session in January. I think that's going to be really important. So, nope, just enjoying listening in. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
May I ask another question, Chris?
Yes, feel free.
So, Mark, so after you complete this ranking, right, what's the process from here?
Yeah. So we provide the ranking to the town manager. The town manager will usually meet with key department heads, mainly Public Works and the school superintendent, because Public Works is really responsible for implementing probably 95% of these capital projects, other than the school department, which manages the school capital, and the airport, which manages the airport capital. And so he'll meet with airport manager, DPW head, and school superintendent to talk about their project submissions and what are the most important to them. Because again, with these limited funding sources that we have, we'll have a discussion with each one of them to make sure that their priorities are in line with how the rankings came out. And if they're not, sometimes we may have to bring forward a funding recommendation for a project that didn't score as high in the rankings, because of the way because of the criteria that we use, but may be an important project for the department. For example, it may be an asset that's ready for imminent failure, but it's not perhaps a high use asset. It doesn't have a public safety or public health component associated with it, but it's an asset we don't want to fail, because it's important to the community. So we'll have those discussions. The town manager ultimately ends up making a recommendation as to the projects he's going to bring forward for the town council's consideration. And then that that plan that he presents will be given to this committee, and then this committee will produce a report based on that plan in accordance with your charge under our administrative code. And we usually produce a report for the town council and town manager from CFAC as to the contents of the recommended funding for FY27.
And that give me a sense of timetable.
Yeah, so I believe, I should send you, I don't think I've sent you the budget calendar that we produce every year. That'll have the timetable of all the key important dates, including the date of CFAC's report when it's due to the town council. But it'll be, I think, sometime in the late February, early March, we're targeting this year for CFAC's.
I believe it's March 3rd on the calendar to submit our report. So
very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And this might be a good time to tell Uremus too. You actually were assigned to the subcommittee for the CIP. I don't know.
I caught that.
Okay.
I'm a little slow, but
I didn't know if you were notified of that or not, because
I saw it somewhere. Yeah,
okay,
no
good.
Worries. No worries.
Yeah, I sent out the subcommittee assignments, I think, last week. So that brings me to my next question. For the subcommittee members of the CIP, what day of the week works best for that group to meet in a time, and I can begin setting up the meetings?
I'd say that Tuesday that was kind of the placeholder definitely works. I could do 4 or 6 o'clock.
I think that Tuesday was it worked well last year. So why don't we do that? And Remo, I don't know if your availability would 4 o'clock, but certainly earlier is better.
Earlier is better. I agree. I'm retired, so I prefer earlier. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I can start. I can prepare a schedule for the three of you for your subcommittee meeting, and once we agree upon that, we'll set those dates up, and I'll officially send you invites for those Zoom meetings as well. We'll do all of those via Zoom as well.
Great.
Yeah, I just asked another question. I know I'm not on the CWP or the CIP, but on that 262-page document, it has 39 rounds. What's a round, and how do we end up with 39? Help me understand that process where it's broken on page 10.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So we want to give every department the opportunity to have their most important projects to them be heard. And so round 1 would be, for example, DPW's highest priority, community services highest priority, MEA's highest priority, school department's highest priority, and so forth. Round 2 would be DPW's second highest priority, and so forth. So we're trying to give every department the opportunity to present their highest priorities in each round. We don't want to just focus on Department of Public Works, for example. We want to give everybody an opportunity to be heard. So that's how we conduct the presentations in the order of the projects that will be presented. It's going to be done in rounds, with each department given an opportunity within each round to present the project.
Yeah, just looking at that list, I have let's say a prior interest in roofs because I've seen a problem in another town. Do we know the age of those roofs? I mean, in a nameless town, I remember the same bidder redid the roof 4 times in a 12-year period. He was always low bidder, may not have done great work, but I don't know. I assume that's not the situation here, that this roof is 3 years old. We have a $13 million renovation necessary.
The high school was done in 1996, 1995, 1996. So, you're going on a roof that's over 20 years old now.
Sounds good. I'm happy to hear that it was 1996 and not.
Same with the Barnstable Intermediate School. They were done around the same time. Yep. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, but all the roof projects, Frank, DPW and school officials will have the information as to the age of those roofs. They should.
I'm also a fan of repairing the roof before you have to repair everything underneath it. I've seen
Yeah,
that happen too.
absolutely. Yeah, and that's typical. That's what we're doing with the HYCC. We've had multiple roof repairs done to avoid costly complete replacements. So,
Thank you.
mhm.
Mark, I don't really remember why, and Chris was on. I don't really remember why we did this, but I thought we had the school superintendent make a presentation to CFAC, as well as the DPW management make a presentation to CFAC.
Yeah,
I found those as being very, very informative, and it allowed us to ask the questions like Frank is asking right now.
yeah.
To
So I'm glad you brought it up because it's on my list of questions for the group
Okay.
tonight. So we could either, how would this committee like to handle this? Because we could either have, the key department heads, mainly Public Works and schools, present to the CIP subcommittee, or we can have them present to the whole committee, whatever your preference may be. I think in the past we've had them present to the whole committee.
Correct.
Yeah, I would
Um,
prefer to have the whole committee hear what they have to say.
okay.
And
I think
certainly the
I agree
CIP
with you, Chris.
subcommittee, yeah, the subcommittee can follow up if they need to as well, but
Right.
I think it's good for the whole committee to hear what they have to say.
Agreed.
So we'll try to schedule then for your next meeting on the 15th, either the school superintendent and her team, or director of public works and his team, to present to this committee their highest priorities for FY 2027. Again, focusing on the highest priorities for FY 2027 because of the number of projects. We just don't have the time to review them all. But then again, and also offer you the opportunity to ask questions regarding specific projects. And if you do have questions regarding specific projects that we may not get to, perhaps send me those questions in advance so I can give them to Public Works and school departments so they can prepare answers for the next meeting. But do you have
Mark,
a
is that going to be late enough? Will their selections be presented to the town manager by that date? Do you think? After the review on tomorrow, then they go do their
no?
vetting.
They-
I just don't want to be asking questions of projects that didn't either make the cut or
yeah.
and somewhere
Does it,
between what gets approved by the department heads and forwarded to the town manager. Um, a time frame like that might be a little better. I don't know.
does it make sense to wait until January, Mark?
The,
We could wait till January to have them come because by then we may have. I think we'll be further along in the process with whittling down the lists of potential funding for fiscal year 2027. If because that'll give us the month of December to have some internal meetings with the town
right.
manager and department heads, talk about the task force ranking, listen to department heads priorities, and then really shrink it down to a recommended list, and then perhaps that's what we focus having departments or public works director and school superintendent present to this committee would be that short list. So you can really focus on just a few projects as opposed to the total 90 some odd projects requesting
Right.
funding for fiscal year 27 because it's a lot.
Is it
Yeah, I think that
possible?
makes sense. So,
Is it
Yeah.
possible for us to invite them for January, since
Sure.
they are always so busy? We'd like to get on their calendar if possible.
Yeah, and and December is a tough month because a lot of people are using vacation time and the holidays. So why don't we focus on having them come in January? I can reach out to both the
Yeah,
school department and Public Works and get one on your agenda for one meeting and the other one on the agenda for the next.
yeah, that's
yeah,
what
I
I
think
was
that'll work
alluding
out
to.
well. Good. Great. Any other comments, questions, anything else?
Mark, if you can send the invite to me for the next meeting in December, so that I have it, that would be great. And then for the Zoom link tomorrow, I have other commitments tomorrow, but I will, when I can, kind of zoom in and out over the course of the day. I'd be very interested in listening on some of these presentations, just to kind of get my feet wet, if you will.
Sure. Okay.
Anything else? Okay, so we can move on. Any committee members have anything they want to go over? Jeremy, I know you had talked about trying to do some social media related things for CFAC. Have you made any progress on that at all?
It turns out that when it comes to municipal finance, it's shockingly sparse on the internet. So it's been interesting looking at various examples around the country of what has been attempted. I'll be honest, school has slightly dominated my my fall, but now that the winter's coming, I'd have some more time. So I've been going across different platforms to figure out what seems like it'll work, because it's essential that we can communicate really important financial information with people. So it's going slower than I expected, but fruitful nonetheless.
Okay, just wanted to check in. I mean, once you figure something out, just let us know, and we'll try to get the message out there.
And I know I sent you a quick email, but both Chris and I got absorbed with work and we couldn't contribute with our volunteer effort here. So we'll pick that up, and hopefully next meeting we'll have that one pager put together for you.
Yeah, that would be great. I understand the holiday and work and everything else. It's all
Chris, I have a
good.
question, if I may, on
Yes.
the town website. If you click under the CFAC and it shows in yellow new FY25 CFAC financial overview report. Isn't that no longer new? Don't we have another one subsequent to that hopefully has been approved? The one that we worked on?
Yes, yeah, the 26 one should be up or going up.
Yeah, on the home page under in the news, there's the FY26 CFAC operating budget report. It's
okay,
yeah,
but I'm on the CFAC page. If you go under committees,
on the CFAC page, yeah, okay.
That new is a little bit old. I'm hoping that we could make it more current.
Yeah, that should be updated.
I don't know why it's not.
I don't know who does that, and I'm not volunteering to do it either. But
that would be Lynn Poyant, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Lynn Poyant's team does that. So I'll reach out to her and ask her to make sure her team updates CFAC's website as well.
Thank you.
That would be great. Thanks for making us aware of that, Frank.
I'm still learning how to find things on the town website.
All good. If they want to update the member list at the same time, that would be good too.
Yeah. I think Lynn Poyant mentioned the other day at a staff meeting that we have over 375,000 documents available on the town's website.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot to keep up with, so they do a good job.
Oh, Lynn's excellent. Every time I've ever dealt with her, she's been fabulous. So I know she'll get it done.
Yeah, good. All right. Anything else from you, Mark?
Yeah, just an update regarding Thursday night's town council meeting. This is the annual joint meeting with the school committee. Normally we have it earlier in the year, but with the election and new counselors and new school committee members coming on board, it was decided to hold a joint meeting once the new members are here. So we're going to provide them with a presentation Thursday night, and this is to review the financial condition of the town. In accordance with our charter, there's a section in our charter that requires the council president to call a joint meeting annually with the school committee to review the financial condition. And so we're going to provide that presentation Thursday night. I'll share that presentation with all of you in advance, and be happy to have a more in-depth discussion on that at your next meeting. That could actually be, our topic for your next meeting on 12/15.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Great.
Okay. Other than that, that's all I have to report. Oh, we did receive our certification of property values from the Department of Revenue today. So this will allow us to go forward with the votes on whether or not to adopt a split tax rate and a residential exemption, and what percentage that we're required to do every year. So those two items have been carried forward on the town council's agenda from previous meetings. They're on the agenda again this Thursday night. And so we can now move forward with the actual votes on those.
Excellent. So you anticipate a vote Thursday night, or is it going to
Yeah,
be?
I hope we're going to need a vote Thursday night in order to produce a tax bill file that we have to get up to the printers by December 15th. That's their drop dead date. There's hundreds of communities submitting their tax bill files to the printers because we all outsource tax bill printing, and there's only a couple of large printers in the state that do this, and so they have their entire staff working overtime and weekends in the month of December to get these tax bills out for communities. And so we got a drop dead date of December 15th to get this tax bill file up to the printers. If we don't get the tax bills out by December 31st, then only one tax bill can be issued, which will be due May 1st. So we won't be able to collect the third quarter in February if we don't get the bills out by the end of December. So, cash flow isn't an issue for the town of Barnstable in a sense that if that were to happen, we wouldn't have to borrow any money to meet our obligations, payroll and vendor expenses, that isn't. And so, but, certainly if that were to happen, the opportunity to earn investment income would be diminished because we wouldn't have that third quarter tax payment coming in until. So we don't want to.
And that would probably be a shock for the taxpayers too, to have two bills due in May as opposed to spread out.
It may provide them some relief. Some people will be glad not to have to make payment in February and wait till May to make the both payments. So, but we want to avoid that if we can. So hopefully we'll. The other key component of this is not only does the town council have to vote, but each one of our fire districts have to vote. So we have all the hearings scheduled for the 5 fire districts between now and I think the last one is December 10th. And so once they have all their meetings and they decide what they're going to do with either a split tax rate or residential exemption, then we have to submit all that information to the state, and hopefully they can do a quick turnaround and approve our what's called our tax rate recapitulations, both the fire districts and the town. There's 6 altogether. They can do that within a day. They have done so in the past, so we hope they can do it again.
So the fire districts, do they all have to agree on the same thing, or can they have different residential exemptions? And they won't conflict with each other.
One fire district, Hyannis, actually splits their tax rate. They elect to choose a split tax rate, allocating more of the fire district's tax levy from the residential class to the commercial, industrial, and personal property classes.
Right.
But I don't think any fire district has adopted a residential exemption. Only the town has adopted the residential exemption.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Oh,
Oh,
I'm
go ahead,
sorry.
Frank. Go ahead, Frank.
It involves tax bills. Uh, do we know the cost to print, mail, process when you receive the cash? My point being, I know of a tax bill that goes out and the total tax due is $4.91. So you print it, you mail it, someone pays it in 2 or 3 installments, you process it, then you send 70 cents to the COM Fire District, you put 12 cents to the Community Preservation Act. To do all that accounting has got to cost more than $4.91.
Sure.
So is there a
Well,
cutoff where you say you don't bill them if it's less than $15 or 20? Or you're
we do
required
have
to?
we do have a $10,000 I think it's in a personal property. Um, if there is a personal property um, um, assessed value of $10,000 or less, we don't bill. We did adopt that section of the Mass General Law, but there is no Mass General Law that allows us to not bill a real estate um, tax bill that's less than X number of dollars.
So, I mean, I know this bill goes up because I pay it. So it has to be costing the town more to print and process this than it's worth
Mhm.
the $4, 81 cents. Or
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
mean,
how to.
we don't have the authority to just not bill that, so we
Wow.
can't just yeah.
Can we quantify how many people, how much money we're wasting that way? That if there's 100 of these that cost $22 a piece, and
Yeah,
then
I'm sure
collect
we
them.
could. I'm sure we could. We could probably, take a look at every single, all 30,000 tax
Well,
bills that we issue, and we could see, we could at least just sort them by dollar amount to see how many, for example, are $100 or less. So
yeah, and therefore the time, it's not all the cost, but the time of somebody's, in the time of all the people paying it, and the aggravation that they have when they have to write that $2.25 check 4 times a year.
yeah, we could do this analysis, Frank, but
But you can't stop it. And it
I
would
can't
take a
stop it.
state, it would
That's the
take a state
problem.
law change for that to
Oh
happen.
yeah, that would take a legislative act. Yes.
God
Yeah.
bless government. Thank you. I
Isn't
appreciate
it?
it.
The wheels of government move slow and inefficiently.
Yeah. No, I was afraid that would be the answer. Otherwise, I think you would have stopped doing it. All right. Thank you.
That's why we did it for the personal property ones. It was just, trying to cut down on processing and processing time and cost is, but there was a law that allowed us to do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So my question mark, I was going to stick my neck out a little bit on this one, is I know that the fire districts and CW or CFAC are not related, or we're not related with the fire districts, but for me, it would be really nice to have the fire districts make a presentation to CFAC someday to really understand, their position within the town of Barnstable and how their tax rate and the rest of the tax rate works, for us to be able to make our analysis and recommendations.
Certainly, I mean, it's a great idea. I mean, maybe if they're willing to come before us. So, but again, as you pointed out, we just don't have any authority over the fire districts. But if they're willing to come forward and talk to us, I think most would. Um, because we have a good working relationship with all of them, both operationally. But they were all created through special legislation in the early 1900s.
Right.
And when Proposition 2.5 was passed back in, I think, 1980, it excluded fire districts and water districts. And so, they're not subject to being limited to raising their levy by 2.5% every year. They can raise their property tax levy by whatever they need in order to operate. So that's one big difference between the fire districts in the town. And there's been multiple discussions about, consolidation and span of control, but At the end of the day, it's going to create legislation to do away with that structure. We have to, and the other thing that's frustrating from us, at a town standpoint, from at least town's finance standpoint, is that we have to bill and collect all their taxes, and that's by state law. And so we include all of the fire district taxes, and it's a separate line item on the tax bill. Separate tax rate is indicated on there. Separate tax amount is indicated on the tax bill. But we're the ones who get the phone calls. And a big portion of that tax bill is a fire district expense, which we have no control. Our council has no control over that. But we get the phone calls and the complaints from people saying, their tax bill went up so much money by so many dollars. And oftentimes when you look at the difference from one year to the next, a lot of it is within the fire district portion of the tax bill. A couple of years ago, the fire district tax levy went up by, I think, over $5 million in 1 year. It was like a 40% increase. And so everybody within the fire district saw this enormous increase in the fire district portion of the tax bill. We got the phone calls.
Right.
And so that's a frustrating part for us, the way we have to bill and collect. And to Frank's point earlier, we have to collect all that money, and we have to turn it over to the fire districts on a weekly basis. And that's a lot of time and effort spent billing, collecting, and transmitting those funds to the fire districts on a weekly basis.
I think that's interesting because the water bill comes as a separate, thing.
They do their own water billing. Yeah, we don't have to do the water bill. It's just the property tax component
right.
that we're required to bill and collect.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, though, Chris, to have all the fire districts come in if we can and give a presentation on what they do and how they operate. And we could even do a report to help the people of the town understand better what the fire district structure actually is. So I don't know if we can work on that maybe after we do our, annual reports.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
in the spring sometime, that would be great.
Agreed.
Do the fire districts work together, or are they all kind of exist in their own ecosystems?
Well, yeah, okay. Whether it's the mutual aid thing, they all have mutual aid, so let's work together in that aspect. But yeah, they're all, they all have their own independent organization, but I'm sure they collaborate in many efforts. And I think, to Chris's point, having them come and explain to the committee would be, particularly in how they collaborate, would be of great benefit, I think, to this group and to the town to hear more about that, about what they're doing from a collaboration standpoint.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that would be a great thing. So we definitely should look at that in May when we're done with all of these other things. So yeah, glad you brought that up, Chris. Any other comments, communications? All right. I see Councilor Starr just dropped in. I don't know if he has anything he wants to say.
Wait a minute. No, I'm fine. Thank you.
You're
Just
fine. You got here just in time for us to wrap things up.
Okay.
So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Good.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Can we get a roll call, Jeremy?
Chris King,
Yes.
Chris Lauzon,
Yes.
Rimus Pascorius,
Yes.
Jim Sproul. I don't know if I just heard
Oh,
Jim.
you're on mute, Jim.
Yes.
Frank Ward,
Yes.
Lillian Wu,
Yes.
and I am a yes.
All right, great. Everybody have a good night, and we'll see you on December 15th.
Nice meeting you all.
Have a great one, everyone.